We just departed Laconia, New Hampshire. I got a friend of mine, Eric, his wife, my wife. We're headed to Bar Harbor now. Just grab some lobster for the day and do some sightseeing and stuff like that while I'm visiting the Northeast here. Eric and I have been flying together for a long time. We were in the Civil Air Patrol together. We sort of had a similar, I don't want to say upbringing, but our flight paths were very similar. And Eric's now at the point of his aviation career where he is pursuing his and about to get his instrument rating. Good morning, departure Jet 379, Juliet Mike 1.5 for 3,000 and the turn to 090.
379 Juliet Mike, turn right heading 140.
Right turn 140, Juliet Mike.
379 Juliet Mike, turn right heading 180.
Right turn 180, Juliet Mike. Let's take off runway 19, 379 Juliet Mike. It's not.
585, there is a Pilatus that's still inbound. They're about 5 miles out, but you are released for departure with our VFR now, and clearance is void if you're not off in 5 minutes. If you're not off in 5 minutes, just advise us of your intentions. Time is now 1650.
All right, 45585 been cleared for release, and off the ground 5 minutes. Definitely let you know. We'll talk to you guys airborne. 45585. Laconia traffic, Vision Jet 45585, departing runway 26. It's going to be a eastbound departure out of Laconia. All right, probe 8 on.
And Laconia traffic applies 436 Tango Whiskey's in a left downwind runway 26 Laconia.
Alright. Our approach is clear. Gas messages are clear. TCAS is clear. Alright, takeoff power is set and achieved. Runway center line. $60 knots by the markers. Let's rotate. Tap the brakes. You're coming up.
Well, looks like Kevin's got the twin out and giving it a bath.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Through 115, the flaps coming up. All right, caps available. Flight level change.
Traffic, Cherokee 782 Mike, Foxtrot about 1 mile west of the field, 2,500 will be hold.
Laconia traffic, Cirrus 56950, departing
MCT.
runway 26, departure to the south, Laconia.
Laconia traffic plus 436 Tango Whiskey's left base runway 26 Laconia.
Yeah, it was nice and smooth right above this layer.
Laconia traffic, Vision Jet 90 Delta Papa and 45585, 2,500, currently 2 miles to the west of the field, departing the area, now turning eastbound out of Laconia. Approach should be able to hear us now. Might as well keep the turn going. Good morning, Boston approach. Vision Jet 45585, 4,000 for 5,000, direct Limer.
45585, lost pressure, good afternoon, ident, climb and maintain 10,000.
Up to 10,000, 45585.
735 Whiskey, contact Manchester Tower 121.3. 45585, radar contact Manchester altimeter 3006.
06 position checks, 45585. Well, he actually didn't give me a position, but hey, what the hell.
It still checks.
It's still checked out.
That.
Number 32, Jill, when able to clear back to Spino. 4 585, contact Boston Center, 128.2.
28.2, 4 flight 585, in Greenland.
Okay.
Drop off.
Feel like flying?
Ah,
No, you're good.
I'm just taking it all in. I'm good.
All right. Boston Center, 4 flight 585, 6.8, climbing to 10,000.
4 flight 585, Boston Center, climb and maintain 15,000.
We'll keep climbing to 15,000, 4 flight 585.
6,000.
So when you use the 4 flight call sign, does it show up somewhere?
Yeah. Up
Oh,
here.
yeah. Okay. That's good.
701, Quebec Sierra, Boston Center, Roger.
Frankly, you know why I use the 4 flight call sign now?
That's 230701.
Because people gave me so much grief about pronouncing Papa or Papa.
Oh.
Papa.
Oh,
or,
really?
Yep.
You mean are you going to try to convince me there's trolls on the internet?
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit.
Really,
like,
Don?
Oh, yeah.
Why, how are you supposed to say it?
I guess you're supposed to say it like Papa, but I can't say it that quick in that cadence.
Yeah.
Now, if it was Papa Delta instead of Delta Papa, it would probably work better for me, but it just doesn't work that good. So we're getting the 4 flight 585 call sign now most of the time.
It must be amazing to live a life where you're so good that that's what you get to worry about for other people.
I know.
Can you imagine?
Runway 4
Thankfully, I have so many flaws that that'll never be a problem for me.
No, it's, listen, you know, autopilot on. So, you know, it's one of those things that,
Hello, Boston. Breakout 4365, descending 26.
you know, you always, you and I talked about this 1,000 times when we fly together.
Yeah.
You know, you always struggle to try to get the perfect flight.
Did you just get the climb to 15,000? I didn't get your read back.
Oh, yes, sir. You climbed to Soar 15,000, 4 flight 585. I thought I read it back.
You did.
All right, 10,000. Pressurization looks good. Tanks are fairly well balanced. Everything looks normal. Continue to climb. Lane light off. So, yeah. So you know, like you know, the goal is a perfect flight, and then you realize, like, well, it was close, but there was always something. You know, a stammer, a stutter, or you know,
right,
whatever, something. It could be like, oh shoot, like the other day I was getting vectored to go into Nashville, and it was kind of after my type rating, so I was kind of a little wore out from all that. And he gave me a 350 heading, and I read back 360, which is only 10 off, but it mattered. I was getting vectored onto the approach, so I would have not joined until about the airport, probably before.
Right.
So the 10 degrees didn't matter. And so anyway, it's just.
So, and I know you can appreciate this, you know, having gone through the same journey, but
yeah,
as somebody who's about to take their instrument check ride, I think there's a parallel conversation to start with. Most of us are very type A when it comes to certain things, and
For
aviation's one of them, hopefully, because otherwise you'll be a safety mess.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
You know,
well, I should stop for a minute and do a little brief introduction real quick so that people understand what's going on. So we just departed Laconia, New Hampshire. I got a friend of mine, Eric, his wife, my wife. We're headed to Bar Harbor now. Just grab some lobster for the day and do some sightseeing and stuff like that while I'm visiting the Northeast here. Eric and I have been flying together for a long time. We were in the Civil Air Patrol together. We sort of had a similar, I don't want to say upbringing, but our flight paths were very similar. And Eric's now at the point of his aviation career where he is pursuing his and about to get his instrument rating. And he owns a twin engine aircraft. He's got a lot of time. He's a military veteran as well. Really good guy and a great friend. And so we're talking about aviation now. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah. Well, and aviation's one of those things where, as a Type A, you tend to strive for perfection, and you have to really temper your expectations. It's not really a goal that you're ever going to achieve in aviation, I don't believe.
Right.
And if you talk to people, my partner in the airplane, he's a full-time commercial 30-year captain for a major airline. He's like, I never have a perfect flight.
Right.
The Portland altimeter.
Even him, huh?
Yeah.
3006.
There's a lot of variables at work, right? Weather, traffic, ATC, closures.
For sure.
It's been an interesting journey to temper my expectations, which also you have to then work through your nerves, if you will.
Yeah.
As you go, am I ready? Right.
Right.
And like all things, I think you have to. Are you ready for the standard to meet the minimum standard? That's the first hurdle. But that's not a blank check to go running hard IFR.
For sure.
I'm certainly not going to throw Amy and the kids in the twin and go.
Yep.
On a hard IMC day.
Yep. And there'll be days where you get there, but it's a path, right? You know, so
I was talking today, flying back with my CFII about our aviation journey. Together, John, and about how we, as two newly minted private pilots who had no IFR ratings,
right.
a little bit haze, and we're like, oh, that's it, we're going back.
We've been in some stuff together, though. Yeah, for sure. But I think the thing that I appreciated a lot about the times we flew together is I think our risk tolerance matrix is about calibrated really close to the same. And we're not like totally risk averse, but we're risk wise and risk aware. So.
293 and we're 60 Yankee.
Well, and I think the key, right, is to put the safeguards in place so that you can stretch yourself outside of your comfort zone to the far end of your skill sets and a little bit beyond, but with the safety net, if you will, so that you continue to grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
I look at some of the bare bones requirements to stay proficient or recency requirements.
Well, the people that don't understand the difference.
Well, right, and just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? That's I think the best way of putting it.
For sure.
And they lie to themselves thinking that I'm going to go shoot 6 approaches at the same airport that I live at, in perfect conditions.
Right.
And then I'm going to set off and fly to California.
Boston Center, Roger, Portland, altimeter 3206.
That's right.
06 at Portland, 166 Hotel unit.
Yeah. And I think that flying with people like, when we're in Civil Air Patrol and flying with guys like Bill and Hank, and just what you see them doing and what they're capable of, it's kind of like, man, they know so much, or they've done so much.
Traffic, 12 o'clock, low, 8 miles.
All right, 1,600 feet below, no traffic call from ATC. No.
Well, and working with and flying with folks like that, I think it's great. I think it gives you the goal. Oh, watch for this traffic.
Yeah,
thanks, man.
He's climbing.
Yeah. But you also have to realize that Rome wasn't built in a day. I got that traffic no factor.
Oh, okay, good, thanks.
So it's a nice place marker.
60 Yankee, what altitude clear to?
Yeah.
American 62 Yankee clear to descend via the
I guess he stayed 1,000 feet below, so they didn't bother to tell us about it. But
that's clear to descend by the ocean. 5 Romeo arrival for 4 right, then we're 60 Yankee.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Some beautiful fall weather up here, though, that's for sure.
Oh, man, it's been great, this summer and then rolling into fall.
Yeah. Leaves will start turning soon.
Listen, don't turn New Hampshire into a tourist zone, okay, man?
Yeah, I know.
American 3086.
Keep it a secret.
We were out, Amy and I went to dinner last night. We were talking to the hostess at the restaurant about
American 3086.
We're in this sweet spot, right, between boating season and skiing, where you can actually go without a reservation to grab dinner.
Right.
And it's reasonable. It's 20 minutes, 25 minutes. It's not, not laugh at us because we don't have a reservation.
Yeah, exactly. Like
You know.
What are you doing here? Have you ever looked at the ILS and the RNAV for runway 22 in Bar Harbor?
166 Hotel
I
Juliet,
have not.
contact Portland.
I don't know if you and I ever talked about this one, but so normally the ILS has the minimums that will take you down lowest, normally about 200 AGL for this category or whatever. And then the RNAVs don't always, and the LPVs do not always take you all the way down to 200. Sometimes it's 245, to whatever the local requirement is. Well, in this case, there is the ILS for runway 22 in the Bar Harbor, and then there's, of course, the RNAV. And they both have the same minimums, and then get you down to 200 feet AGL and all that stuff. In fact, I think the fixers are the same for both as well. But the interesting thing about the ILS versus the RNAV is there's a note up here, and it basically says autopilot coupled approach not authorized below 900 feet. So like if you're really in the soup and you're just accustomed to relying on the ILS to get you down, and you're the type of pilot that like to keep it coupled all the way down to minimums, you can go all the way down to minimums in this. If you're coupled though, you're not following this requirement for the chart, right? So if you make the selection to fly the ILS just because you're used to flying the ILS, it could be not an error, but there might be a better option.
Well, especially if the current weather conditions, then the ceilings are 800-900 feet, right? Yep. And you're used to being able to fly it right down to minimums, making the decision, and you know,
right,
and pulling the autopilot off.
Because the LPV allows you to go down to 200 feet just the same, but you can stay coupled all the way there.
Correct.
And you know,
in a hard IMC day, where you're task saturated, you're probably coming up from someplace else, so you've got some time in the airframe. Your fatigue is starting to creep in, and if, to your point, if you're somebody who takes off, hits the autopilot, and then at minimums takes it off, that's probably a recipe for some extra work for sure.
Yep.
But potentially something that's it might bite you if things have started to unravel. Is in the analogy of Swiss cheese, right? If the holes start lining up,
I agree with you. There are certain aircrafts that you're allowed to fly a fully coupled go around, right? And the Vision Jet is certified for a fully coupled go-around, and I believe the SR-22 G6 and G7s are also authorized, and there are others that aren't Cirrus, I'm sure. It's, capable of flying a fully coupled missed approach.
Right.
And, this year,
3513,
I was aware of that when I went to go do the type rating. They get you down to nothing and make sure you do missed approaches on most of the approaches, so you're either circling or you're missing. And I've got myself trained to do a coupled missed approach, and it really felt pretty good, man. Super easy. I mean, in the case of the Vision Jet, you basically, assuming you're setting auto throttle and you're configured correctly and all this stuff, when you get down
585, contact Boston Center, 120.25.
20.25, 4 flight 585, have a great one. Boston Center, 4 flight 585, 1,000, I'm sorry, 15,000. I have the biggest trouble.
585, Boston Center, up the Bangor altimeter is 3003.
03. 585. So anyway, too many thoughts going on at once, I guess. But so you flying them, you
control reach 717.
You essentially just basically you have the throttle where it's set for your airspeed, for the approach, and then you just reach under and hit the toga button. Instantly pitches the plane up. It knows it has to go into climb, so the throttle goes all the way to takeoff for you. As you start then retracting flaps, and then once you get gear up, and then when you get to 115, you finally pull the final flaps up and hit nav and flight level change, and you're on your way.
Well, and with the addition of auto throttle, right, it really changed the workload for pilots.
Yeah.
The unfortunate part, or the learning curve, was that, early G1000s had that toga, capability, but there's no connection, to a
Right.
FADEC for throttle. And there was a couple of instances that I know of that the plane pitched up, started to climb away, but the power was never added.
Yep.
And I think it goes back to, as pilots, we never like to read that 500-page manual, right? We skim through it if we're lucky. But the reality of it is that having that understanding, that deeper understanding of what to doing versus what I've asked.
Yep. Number 737 Alpha Tango, Boston Center, rudder, climb and maintain
of course, there's this age-old children of the magenta line debate,
Yes.
right?
Kevin's probably talked to you about that a little.
Right,
Yeah.
And so the resources have to be a value add, right, and a reduction in task saturation.
For sure.
Because otherwise, if you don't know how to use them, you're only going to exacerbate the problem. Because then, and you hear it, we've heard it, 100 pilots say, oh, the autopilot was acting. Why is the autopilot doing? Well, it's doing exactly what you asked for it to do. But you don't know what you're really asking it to do.
For sure. And people that are following command bars that aren't set up to give you any guidance,
right,
besides straight to the ground, maybe.
It's almost as bad as blindly following advice off the internet.
Yeah, true.
Overcast, 3,400. Temperature, 19er. Celsius, dew point, 12 Celsius. Altimeter, 3004. Hancock County, Bar Harbor Airport. Automated weather observation, 1712 Zulu.
Flight 585,
Wind,
your discussion 11,000.
Discussion now 11,000 for flight 585.
Visibility, 10. Sky condition, overcast, 3,400. Temperature, 19er. Celsius. Dew point, 12 Celsius. Altimeter, 3004. Hancock County, Bar Harbor Airport. Automated weather observation.
Get the winds.
1713 Zulu. Wind 180 at 07. Visibility 10.
Thank you.
Sky
Okay. What I've kind of gotten the hang of is always loading an approach, whether I need it or not.
Sure.
Clear direct hand me.
And it's came in handy a few times where it's like where the weather's not super bad, but maybe it's a hazy day, and you're trying to make make out two different runways that connect at the same end,
sure,
or something like that, or maybe they cross at the end. And you're like, is that 14 and 18 right there? What is that? Or is that 1822? You're just trying to figure out,
Sure.
4 flight 585, don't start descent now if you would.
Descending now, 4 flight 585. BNAV would have said you have a couple more minutes, but yeah, that's all right. So, auto throttle, FMS.
4 flight 585, contact. Finger approach 133.6.
33.6, 4 flight 585, have a great one.
2025, good day, 258 X-ray.
Finger approach, 4 flight 585 out of 13.9, 411,000. We have information and NOTAMs. We'd like to get the RNAV for runway 22.
4 flight 585, Finger approach, ping altimeter 3001, clear direct CARDA, expect the RNAV runway 22 approach, Barb.
Right down to direct CARDA and 3001 for the RNAV 22, 4 flight 585. 283, 83. And procedure, activate the approach, CARDA. All right.
2427 Mike, for departing traffic off of Bangor, could you please turn left heading 060 just to get you across the departure corridor?
Get the missed approach could be 2900. Direct to whammy.
27 Mike, maintain the apart.
You really have to appreciate some of the names in aviation.
Yeah.
Some of them are more obvious based on the geography, right? Boston stuff and sports teams. And other ones you scratch your head like,
right.
There's about 9 ways I could try to pronounce it, and all of them are wrong.
Yeah, like as I recall, if you go out towards, I think it's Lebanon, all of them are like related to hamburger or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, ham and burger or I don't know, whatever else. But around Nashville, it's some of the music royalty.
Yeah. It's interesting too because some of them have been tied to entities or individuals that are no longer in the aviation world, and so you can almost kind of date aviation along the lines of companies that have gone under, etc.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Cirrus 585, set to maintain 3000.
Done a 3000, 4 flight 585.
Cirrus definitely did an amazing job on the Vision Jet.
Man, they did.
It's such a
it was sort of
airframe.
That some argue it wasn't really a clean sheet design or whatever, but for a company that makes piston aircraft to jump into the turbine class is no small feat.
And to do such a good job out of the gate, right? Not that it hasn't gone through revisions and updates, and but it really is such a capable airframe.
717 Heavy, rudder clear, direct Alpha, expect the ILS runway 33 approach.
Yeah.
Expect lower in about 50 miles.
It's interesting when the manufacturers can start leveraging the relationships they have, like Cirrus and Garmin, for example, right? And like this is what we'd like to achieve in the aircraft, and Garmin goes, cool, this is what we got, and let's put it together,
Right.
348 main departure radar.
Well, in days of old, you had that partnership more for cost synergies. Now it's driving innovation, right? So you're seeing more and more manufacturers, not just Cirrus, who are using a avionics suite specific to that airframe, as opposed to now. Unfortunately, now you look at airframes that have just a plain G1000, and you're like, oh, that's disappointing. It's literally built around the mission of the airframe.
And if you look at things like, I've been really keeping my eye on Epic for a while, and if you see those in the wild, you're like, man, that's a good looking aircraft.
I have. Yeah,
and I know a professional pilot that spends quite a bit of time in one, and he's like, it's great, absolutely a fantastic plane to fly. Do you compare it to Vision Jet, for example, or do you compare it to TBM? There are similarities, but they're all different in some ways. But wait till the Epic gets the next generation of avionics.
Yeah.
And I mean, it will be
your radar
a real thing to see.
It will, in a world where, and hopefully I don't get hit in the back of the head from my wife. In aviation, it's really not one plane, right? You need like 3, right?
Yeah.
Because they're all kind of specific in their role. And of course, as we know, nothing in aviation is inexpensive. But when you look at a plane like the Epic, right, the boxes that it really checks for range and useful load and speed and short fields, and a lot of those are Kodiak, TBM, right? There's always trade-offs in life, right?
For sure.
Aviation's definitely no different.
Well, I know, and going back to when I transitioned into the first SR-22 that I had, and before that, Patty really didn't love to fly. I mean, she would go, but it wasn't like, I don't think she was settled in the comfort of the safety aspect that the parachute brought. And then, she started realizing there's an aircraft with a parachute, and it changed her mentality about flying.
Sure.
And
I love some of the memes that are out there, right, about Cirrus pilots. like many meme have been made, and the reality of it is that it's a great airframe, and then you add things like electronic stability, protection, and it makes it safer and more efficient. And as everybody in aviation knows, the cost of insurance is not going down. So as we prevent, especially in the GA space, we prevent mishaps and accidents, and we mitigate the loss of life involved, right?
Right.
I'd like to think that the price will eventually stabilize. It's probably not going to come back down again, but stabilize.
Right, for sure.
But it's really kind of an interesting time in the last probably 20 years of aviation, especially general aviation. You can get 717 pilots who look at your Vision Jet and go, you have way more technology than I have.
Yeah.
So it's really neat to see it, and as an avionics geek, I kind of, I'm all about it.
Yeah, for sure.
But at the end of the day, it has to be about
2 miles north of Bangor Airport.
Adding situational awareness, reducing workload, and mitigating risk, and not being a detractor or a crutch.
Exactly right. And then the next challenge for us, I talk about it when I mentor pilots that just get their type ratings in the Vision Jet, is we got to admit this is kind of easy to fly it. Now, and when things go wrong, we're dealing with pressurization issues and major system issues and electronics.
It gets cold quick.
And hey, I cannot breathe anymore. And all the things that go along with that when you have system failures in flight. So, but assuming everything's working great, as it should, it gets to be a thing where you have to fight the complacency aspect of it.
Yeah.
And
you and I both, you mentioned a guy like Hank and Bill that we flew with in CAP, right? Prior military, right? Fighter guy, nuclear bomber guy, right?
Yep.
And their advice was always hand fly to the point where you're proficient and safe, and then use the automation to make things easier and safer and to manage the workload.
I love that. And like there's an instructor that I just met this week. He's from the Denver area. Ian Howells is his name, and we were talking about flying, and he said the first premise here is that going and hand flying should not increase the amount of risk in flight, right? So in other words, whether you use an automation or hand flying, the risk could be the same. And if you ever are at the point in your flying where you go like, well, it'd be dangerous for me to hand fly this right now, you might want to reevaluate it, because you need to be able to fly the plane and then rely on automation, not rely on automation to fly the plane all the time. There's times where you simply have to go a stick and rudder yourself. So I like the idea, like, don't, like if you say I'm kick off the autopilot, get ready, something fun's about to happen.
Right. If it's the equivalent, of hopping on a professional bull rider, level bull, you've missed something along the way.
Yeah, that's right. So I like that idea. I'm like, well, son of a gun, you're exactly right about that. And, to his point is like flying a missed approach. Actually, when you're flying an instrument approach, you should expect that the instrument approach is, the missed approach is actually part of the approach, And if
just
you
expect to fly it.
And if just understand that's another extension of the approach.
Right.
And then actually, when you don't have to do the missed approach, you're pleasantly surprised, And I kind of like that mindset too.
Well, and the avionics space.
555, 12 miles from Carter, cross Carter at about 3,000, cleared RNAV runway 22 approach.
We're across Carter at 3,000 above, clear for the RNAV 22 approach for flight 585.
Plane 19 uniform, traffic no factor. 365 Romeo, traffic no factor.
Tango, okay, 328, VFR from Bar Harbor to Boston.
Little bumps through a nice thin layer.
Yeah.
To maintain.
See what pick
ground
up the
contact.
airport pretty soon here. That'd be kind of nice.
SC-28, bank departure, bang altimeter 3001, again requested cruising altitude.
3001, we'll maintain 1,500 KSV check.
I'm going to increase the descent rate a little bit.
Here, 328, squawk 4732.
4732 KSV check.
Yeah, I think in aviation, the sooner you realize that and plan that you're not going to get what you want,
right?
And it's not going to work the way it's supposed to, the better off you are.
Yeah.
And I was saying earlier that the avionics world had an internal struggle about the missed approach piece.
For sure.
Some automatically sequenced, right? And for a long time, the old 530, 430s, just assume you're landing.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you're not going to land, that's the least opportune time for you to be adding extra workload. You know, it's definitely a beautiful day for sure.
Flight 585, Roger. IFR cancellation is received, and squawk VFR change to advisory frequency approved.
I will squawk VFR change to advisory. Have a great day for Flight 585.
And 21 will do. VFR. All right, speed checks, flaps coming in.
Bar Harbor traffic, Vision Jet for Flight 585. We're 2,100 on a 6-mile final for runway 22. Bar Harbor traffic.
Green.
It sure does beat the 6 to 7 hour drive from home to here.
Exactly right about that. All right, so I did not want to capture.
Bar Harbor traffic, for Flight 585s on a 5-mile final for runway 22. Bar Harbor traffic.
Alright, flaps going full.
Bar Harbor traffic, Vision Jet 45585. We're on a 2-mile final for runway 22. Bar Harbor traffic and 1B full stop.
A little bit more color out here in Maine, huh?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
pretty.
Starting to turn for sure. We'll be talking about that horrible W word before you know it.
Yeah.
Winter.
That's right.
$500.
All right, 3 grain pressurization's good, fully configured. Could land lights on.
Minimums.
Continuing. And visual. Nice uphill runway, huh?
This video is sponsored in part by SF50 Flight Support. Check out sf50flightsupport.com for more information. We make jet ownership better with comprehensive services for owners, pilots, and operators of SF50 Vision Jets.
Bigger approach, Vision Jet 45585, hold a short runway 22, Bar Harbor, ready to go.
45585, main departure, Bangor altimeter 2998, release for departure, report airborne.
Report airborne, release for departure, 45585. Bar Harbor traffic, you have a Vision Jet departing runway 22 out of Bar Harbor.
Probeats on. Our approach is clear. Yep. I'm going to take a power set and achieve runway center line. All right, we have 60 by the marker, continuing. Let's rotate. Tap the brakes, gear coming up. Through 115, flaps coming up. Clear of all obstacles, flat level change. Caps available.
Pittsburgh traffic, skydiving in 2 minutes, do not overfly. Bar Harbor traffic, this is maintenance 1. Would like to go full length runway 4 for a wildlife inspection. If there's any conflicts, please advise Bar Harbor traffic.
And MCT.
And Bar Harbor K-Bear Twin Sus, we're holding short 22 down at the end of the hotel. We still need to pick up our clearance, so should be fine if you guys go.
Thank you very much. Maintenance 1 will be going full length runway 4.
Bar Harbor traffic, 45585 through 1700, now departing the area westbound out of Bar Harbor. Bigger approach, for flight 585, airborne off the Bar Harbor, 3000, climbing to 10,000.
Flight 585, make a departure, ident. Flight 585, radar contact 4 miles west of the Bar Harbor Airport, verified 3,300, clear direct to Lemur, call maintain 10,000.
Position checks, 3,600 now, direct Lemur, for flight 585.
Air 1911, make a departure, bang on subject 2908, release your departure, report airborne traffic 2 miles southwest of Bar Harbor Airport, altitude indicates 1,200.
Release for departure, report airborne, Air 1911 too.
What a beautiful day.
It is. I was laughing at how many photos I probably have stuck in my iPhone, right, of clouds flying around with you. They never get old.
Yeah.
Somebody said the other day, instrument flight training, you know, is all about flying in the clouds.
Yeah.
And actual instrument flying is all about avoiding the clouds.
Right.
You know?
It's like, it's sort of like...
Flight 585, contact Boston Center 120.25 today.
2025, for flight 585, have a great one. Boston Center, for flight 585, we're 5.8, climbing to 10,000.
For flight 585, Boston Center, good afternoon, climb maintain 16,000, Portland Terminal 3003.
3003 up to 16,000 for flight 585.
3003. All right. Yeah, so, you know, you go get your commercial rating, right? Then you realize how you can't use your commercial rating for very much, you know?
Right.
And it's like you get your instrument ticket, for example, and then you realize, like, well, it's not very smart to fly around when it's freezing in the clouds without ice protection. So, you know, you basically learn the left and right limits of each of those ratings.
Yeah, if you're smart, absolutely. And the aircraft really dictates so much.
Yeah.
Southwest 3633, contact Boston Center 118.42, good day. American 2282, contact Portland approach 119.75, so long.
Was there anything that you know, learned during your instrument training that maybe you didn't think about much, or, you know, that was just a new idea?
Flexjet 459, climb maintain for
Well,
level 280.
I certainly learned a lot, and continue to learn a lot. And I think that's the epiphany, right? Is that you need to really be committed to being a student of aviation, right? When you work past ratings, past your, you know, private pilot level, there's a certain level of expectation that you're going to put in the work.
Yep.
Right? And that work really is, well, for lack of a better term, it's not the sexy part of aviation, right? It's the 5 a.m. I'm letting the French Bulldog out, I'm having a coffee, and I'm studying, I'm reading. And, you know, it really created this conversation of humbling you to really how much you really don't truly know, and how much you really need to learn, and it created this thirst for knowledge. And I think the reality of it is that as you work in these advanced ratings like instrument, commercial, ATP, the expectation goes up exponentially because the risk, you know, it's not just you and maybe one of your buddies in a little plane.
Yeah.
You're doing and going faster, higher, you know, where the process is designed to be safe and repeatable, but you need to be on your A game when things go wrong.
For
you
sure.
know, and I think kind of in a humorous way, I realized why the weatherman or weather girl on the news gets it wrong all the time, because it's a fairly complex thing that you know, I'm just scratching the surface.
Golf contact Boston approach 118.25. Good day.
Which is why I think minimums, personal minimums are
Gotcha,
so
459, contact
important.
Boston Center, 128.32.
Yeah, agreed.
Have a good day.
Agreed.
And you hit it right on the head, right? The fact that our risk profiles line up fairly well. That's not to say we don't take risk, but we mitigate risk in a very similar way.
Sure.
And I think that's the important piece that a lot of people forget. Like you need to expose yourself to people who are, going to give you good information, who are going to be similar risk profile.
For sure.
That's not to say an aerobatic pilot is unsafe, but that's not a profile that Eric will fit into.
Right. That's
so,
right.
779 Boston Center. Good afternoon.
I find that, flying in the Northeast, right, and getting surprised because of changing weather, it made me mindful of the fact that, like, there's always something that you didn't know about before you left the ground that you should have known about. There's always that nugget of information that's out there. Like, I remember one time it was, completely unavoidable, but I had taken off from Laconia, and I think I was flying to, I think it was Augusta, Maine. Uneventful trip, not supposed to be any weather, nothing like that, and started picking up
November 5237
the weather information, and everything was fine.
2475
I checked NOTAMs before we got there, and so I go on COM2 and I set up the CTAF frequency, so while I'm still talking to approach control, and I'm starting hearing them talking at the airport in Augusta, basically a Pilatus had landed and had a nose wheels collapse onto the runway, and now the airport's closed.
Right.
So now you can't really avoid that. That's just something that happened. But then, well, if you would have known it, what would you have done? Well, I'd have planned for an alternate. I'd make sure I had fuel to go wherever I was going to go. So anyway, you have to do those things in the moment now that the plan has changed, right? So when plans change the plan. So
yeah, I think if you're somebody who is very rigid in the way you go through life, meaning I have to get to C via B, aviation's a challenge, right? Because it's never going to work the way you expect it is going to work. I had the luxury a few weeks ago of flying a local DPE in my twin. He needed to, in order to give check rides, they have to have 5 hours of make model for twins and some of these more complex airplanes, right? And there's a gentleman who owns a twin Comanche looking for his ATP check ride, and so the DPE needed a time. And, we did the usual stuff first, the air work, installs, and that kind of stuff, VMC, and then we worked our way and started doing some, I'll call it gentleman's IMC stuff, right? Nice thin layer, and then we were heading up to Brunswick and Brunswick, Maine. And as we were going, we were, over the cloud deck like we are today, and all of a sudden it just started to change. Like you could see it developing in front of you.
Sure.
What was one thing, 30 minutes later was a drastically different experience. So I think
for sure, and it wasn't in the TAF or anything.
No. Yeah. And I think it's about how soon can you get in front of the airplane, meaning ready and cleaned up, so that then you can start to look faster and further away. So as those kind of gotchas get brought up, it's not short final that you realize that Pilatus is
for sure
sitting in the middle of the runway.
Right.
43602 kilo, radar contact.
That's a great exercise.
Well, the cruise phase, right, is
you're going to be just orbiting down there.
Especially IFR, I have come to find out. It's,
we'll be
there's a lot of work happening there. The plane may be stabilized, and cleaned up and going, but that's when you take a 2-minute pause and you start your briefing and start working through the scenarios of, what if we don't get in?
Right.
It's interesting. One thing I did absolutely learn, and I kind of knew it, but it really kind of drove it home, is, in New England, when you're flying a single or even a light twin like we have, you're working in a region where the reality of it is your destination and your alternate are probably pretty similar,
right?
So you're listing an alternate that, as you look,
it's going to give you the same result as your primary.
So now
right?
you're like, all right, now I have a diversionary plan, right? Because 1 is none and 2 is 1. But the reality of it is if you're critical fuel or you plan poorly for fuel and you're flying across New England, there's a good chance that your alternate's not going to be the place you're going to be able to go.
Right.
And with technology now, with ADS-B weather and XM weather and stuff, it certainly keeps us on the front edge of that information.
Yeah, that's true.
But you need to know what to expect.
40 miles north of Lawrence, that maintains 1000. Port altimeter 3003.
You're exactly right, man. It's like you're looking at a wide area of weather, and your fuel radius is kind of covered up by all of those, and then you're like, well, that one I need to go to is actually outside of the weather.
Yeah.
But I can't get to it, So, that's in the real world is, a lot of people think that you have to fly to your primary destination airport that you filed, go missed, and then head to the direction of your alternate. But the reality is, real world IMC is like, listen, I don't have to try it there.
Right.
I can see right now it's been, below minimums for the last 3 hours, and the trend is not going to change. Divert early, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of a better idea.
And that example that a couple weeks ago when I was with the DPE, we watched it unfold. The vertical development is growing in front of us, and we grabbed the ADS-B weather that was like 6.5 minutes old, and now it's overcast, 800, heavy rain. And I looked at him and I said, we're not going there.
Right. Right.
4 flight 585, change to my frequency 128.2.
4 flight 585 on 28.2.
Thank you.
Yeah. You were telling me another one, I believe. You guys went to Lebanon and had something happen?
Yeah. So that same day, we
Good speed 436.
we were working our way back to the west because we knew that we had some significant weather working west to east, right? So we'll go westbound and then we'll come back to the east and finish up. And we got to Lebanon Airport, which is up a little bit in the elevation. And the rain just showed up on 3 of the 4 sides. So knowing that we're clear between us and the airport, but we're going to have to depart and go into severe thunderstorms,
right?
Or rainstorms, and I at the same time I heard a helicopter pilot call in the tower asking about the rain because he was running into it at much lower altitudes, and again I had to look at the gentleman who was flying with me, the DP, and said, listen, I think we should probably cancel the approach. Let's make our turn towards Laconia, and not try our luck. Right. He's like, I think it's a great call.
You passed your check ride before your check ride.
Well, and
good aeronautical decision making.
Well, and that's just it, right? Like, you can't get so focused. I have to get to my airport. I have to get to the. And there's been a couple of instances already since we've owned the Twin where, Amy and I've had a conversation about going somewhere. And it would really make it drastically easier on us, right? 7-hour drive one way versus an hour and 35 minutes in the plane. And as a VFR pilot, I know that we're going to start to already push the get there-itis.
Yep.
And B, even more so because I can't at this point legally fly in the weather. Right. And I'm like, listen, as much as I don't want to drive from New Hampshire to Northeast Philly, that's what we're going to do because it's a smart play. And usually when you make those calls, I don't know if you've seen this, but if you make the call to not fly, the weather usually is wrong and it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
And you go, hey, listen, it's an old adage, right? Like, I'd rather talk about it on the ground than wish I was on the ground while I'm in the air.
Yeah.
But
I talked about this before, when we were assessing risks and like, should we go or not go or whatever. And I think we jointly agreed that every takeoff is optional, but once you're up, every landing is going to be mandatory. So
it is.
you know.
Yeah. Ironically, at lunch, I saw a memory today from like 7 years ago, flying basically the same path in a Cap 182 VFR, and that's a day a fairly sizable cell was coming across New Hampshire, and we were on VFR flight following with Boston, and they wanted to turn us out over the ocean to go south and around it, and I said, no thank you, remember?
Yeah, no bueno.
And we literally landed, shut down in, I think it was Lewiston, tied the plane down tight, got inside, and the thunderstorm hit, and I'm like, you know.
I remember that well.
Yeah. 7 years ago today, that was today's flight.
7 years ago today?
Yep.
Wow.
Thankfully, with social media, right, you were constantly prompted for all these memories.
That's right.
Red Angel 6333, contact Boston approach 125.05, good day.
125.05, Red Angel 6333, good day.
It really is a beautiful IFR day, though. Nice thin layer.
1000, for altimeter 3003.
3003, discretion on a warm 11,000 for flight 585.
Boston Delta 257 through 320 for 290.
Delta 257, Boston, good afternoon. You're cleared to descend via the Ocean 5 arrival, runway 4 right transition, Boston altimeter 3005.
Clear to descend the Ocean 5, 4 right transition, 3005, Delta 257.
Southwest 1912, contact Boston Center 118.42. Have a good day.
1842, 1912, good day.
Yep. Brunswick. One of the most underutilized airports in the Northeast, huh?
Yeah.
Up to 230, Picat 3620.
You know, it's sad when you see these, the airports of any size, but when you're talking about like Cold War era military facilities that are, I mean, let's be honest, the runways are long enough to take off, land, and do it again safely. It's a beautiful facility. In fact, I think recently I saw that, you know, a long time ago they closed that parallel runway, but they put in a little grass runway, right? A lot of backcountry, you know, Mainers who are flying in and out of their houses because it's more convenient than taking the scenic route, you know, by car. So it's nice.
310.
But yeah, there's a lot of aging airports that are not getting the love they used to.
Right.
Maintain 270 knots for spacing, Flexjet 60.
And you know, it's a little easier when they're owned by a municipality, right? When they start to go private, it becomes hard because there's nothing inexpensive about maintaining an airport, and the standards to get any federal funding are very exacting, and they're not, you know, they're not optional.
Number 5217 Echo, Roger, squawk 1305 and say destination.
You know, there's certain facets of aviation that are very romantic to me, and you watch some of these ocean crossings of, you know, it's one thing when it's a, you know, Airbus 380 or a, you know, 747, like, but when you see single engine turboprops, single engine jets, frankly piston airplanes, right, making even the trip from like the States to Iceland, right?
Yeah.
But then you watch them come from Europe, and of course,
November 5217 Echo,
you know, like TBMs, right, coming from Europe, you know, to the States as part of their import process.
Or the diamonds, you know?
Yeah,
something.
It's there's just certain things I think in aviation that if you had the opportunity to safely check the box, you ought to probably do it.
I'd love doing it. Yeah.
You know,
where you got to sit in the plane in a survival suit.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Yeah.
Yep.
4 flight 585, contact point approach 109.75, good day.
1975, I'm great with things, 4 flight 585. Portland approach, 4 flight 585, we are descending on 12.6 for 11,000.
4 flight 585, point approach, altimeter 3002, turn 20 degrees right, descend and maintain 8,000.
20 right, down to 8,000, 4 flight 585.
Portland approach, good afternoon, Bonanza, 25704, 5,000. Or 25704, point approach, altimeter 3002. Advise weather NOTAMs at Freiburg and type approach requested. 3002, and we'll try and get the weather there. We're probably looking for a visual. We'll let you know.
Okay, I don't show any pertinent NOTAMs for you there.
All right, so.
Tier 1911, changing my frequency 119 or 0.75.
I wonder if that turn was for traffic or for
for
something else.
Yeah. It's interesting, I found too, that some of these sectors, if they wait right to the boundary, because of the geography, they'll lose you quick.
1911, Roger.
Gotcha.
Then with the turn on top of it, it initially made me think, you know, separation. But
yeah.
It's a mysterious place sometimes, the inner workings of an ATC mind.
It's a tough job.
Oh, for sure. And they're seeing things that the pilots aren't, the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And the person going 75 knots and the jet going 250 knots, and it's a delicate dance.
Okay.
And of course wake turbulence and everything else.
Yeah, 1128, connect Boston Center 128.2.
The ground speed looks pretty good, 303 knots maybe.
45585, descend and maintain 4,000, clear direct Laconia.
Direct Laconia and 4,000, 45585.
Departure 831 Juliet November at 1,100.
831 Juliet November, pulling departure radar contact, proceed on course.
Proceed on course, 831 Juliet November.
And Portland Bonanza 704 has the weather at Freiburg. And if you can get us lower, we're just about the bases here. We'll be visual if you can get down to about 4,000.
Departure 207 Mike, 13 for 3. 207 Mike, pulling departure radar contact, climb maintain 10,000.
10,000, 7 Mike.
Number 704, I have your request. American 3085, connect Boston Center 128.2.
282, American 3085, good day.
I was telling you how I flew the twin down to Providence.
Mike, connect Boston Center 128.2.
For work.
22, we'll see you.
And picked up VFR flight following right the whole way. And it's never really made sense to me why people avoid talking to the controllers, right?
Agreed.
Not only for what you're going to get from them, but just to make their job easier. You know, as they try to deconflict things.
November 704, descend and maintain 4,200.
They're talking to you, and they know roughly what to expect out of you, even though you're VFR.
3653.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, on the northbound leg, on the return trip, the winds forced a runway change at Logan.
Oh.
And so it was sporty, to say the least, with the traffic flow direction.
Yeah.
To the point where
my frequency
I leveled off
0.4
at
120.4,
6,500, and as soon as I did, I run the checklist, and they're like, "Hey, listen, for the next 20 miles, because of the runway change, it's going to be very full and busy. So can you descend to 3,500? Sure. What are you going to say? No? I mean, you're VFR flight following, and if you say no, there's a good chance they're going to say no, thank you. I descended, did the checklist. He's like, all right, back up. I'm like, okie dokie. But there's a fine dance happening there, right?
Yeah,
trying
for sure.
to get everything to work.
Yeah, and a lot, like I said, or like you said, that flight following is one of those things that's just underutilized. But you kind of help ATC out by doing it.
Yep.
If they can handle the workload or the resource, yeah.
What you do of an aircraft,
but man, it opens the situational awareness up. Now you've got extra sets of eyes and ears and computers and everything looking to help you,
Well, and we always talk about this in pilot training. We talked about it when I was a crew chief in the military. you know,
Number 6 Whiskey Charlie, release for departure.
of squawking, you know, and talk, you know, make your call on 121, and you know, I would just as soon make a phone call, a radio call to somebody I'm already talking to, and say, here's what I've got going on, and utilizing them to manage other
November
stuff.
5659 X-ray, Connect Boston, approach 134.
Make another call. Boston approach, for flight 585 out of 5.4 for 4,000. We have information and items for Laconia. Expecting a visual.
For flight 585 Boston approach, roger. Aircraft calling for a second. 44 Charlie, roger, proceed on runway 6, contact Manchester Tower 121.3.
So interesting lessons learned while doing this journey through instrument rating.
For sure.
You know, the human body's a fairly impressive piece of work, right? But early on, when you don't have actual experience, right, in the clouds, your mind says, I don't want to be here, right? I have no reference. All of those illusions and all of those things that you have to fight, trust your instruments. About the only other thing in my life I've ever experienced was getting my scuba diving ratings.
Yeah.
When I had to take my mask off under the water and then put it back on, and I struggled with it.
We should be able to pick it up just going through a cloud now, and then we'll cancel IFR if we make the field.
And it was my mind's work of separating the fact that I could have my nose full of water and still breathe through my mouth.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Field in sight for flight 585. We'll cancel IFR.
For flight 585, IFR cancellation received. Radar service terminated. Squawk VFR frequency change for route today.
Altitude. Squawk VFR and change advisory. Thanks a lot. For flight 585.
Other aircraft on approach again.
Oops. Let's do this.
Deferred traffic, Cessna taking off runway 24 Bedford.
And, oh god, 1420.
Vertical track.
Laconia traffic, Vision Jet to 4 flight 585, 8 miles to the east of the field, descending for runway 26 in Laconia.
Definitely turned out to be a beautiful day.
For sure.
Augusta traffic, Air Sprint 668, citation jet 30 miles northeast of the field inbound, landing Augusta runway 17 in 10 minutes.
Center for traffic, 50 Juliet is entering a left downwind for 2-4, bit of traffic.
So this flight path marker is so nice.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's so, yeah, I've got this other stuff. I've got course guidance here. I've got, you know, of course, the glide path right here. But if you're just flying like a visual approach now, like, so now we're looking at the PAPIs and realizing that even though we're way high, what's it say? We're low, right?
Right.
So we're way above the glide path technically. But if you look at the PAPIs, they say, no, you're not. So,
yeah, and they're not
Not coincidental.
Yeah, exactly.
3680 Romeo is
Takes all the guesswork out with the winds and everything else because the trend vector is, is really handy. That's been around for a long time in the military.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's really nice. So now we're on Pappies, which is good. Bugged and missed approached.
Yep. Climbing at 4400 direct to Yak. I do miss the short commute from the airport at the old house over here.
Yeah. This is what I always see. Here we always seem so high. It says I'm low still on the Pappies, but then look at this.
Yeah, and then it falls right away.
Yeah.
And of course here, as you know, you tend to get that burble over the building or trees.
That's right.
And you sink a little bit more. Lately we've had a lot of large birds of prey, stocking up for the winter.
Laconia traffic, Bonanza 3680 Romeo is 5 miles to the south, starting with the left downwind for runway 26 Laconia.
Well, welcome back to Laconia, New Hampshire.
Thank you so much.
Sure glad you guys came with us today.
Thank you for having us. It was a beautiful day for some.
I wish I had more occasions to fly with you, man. It's always great.
We have Laconia traffic, 45585, clear of all runways, and taxi in past the FBO.
Until next time, safe flying, and we'll see you on the next flight. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Click on the notification bell so you'll be the first to be notified when new video content is posted. And I can't thank you enough for your questions, comments, and feedback. Until next time, safe flying, and we'll see you on the next flight.